During the opening credits, we hear a lady in trouble. She asks for someone named Bobby before she starts losing control. Then we see a man sitting at a place where he looks for work. He is Bobby. We discover he is on parole. While he stayed in prison, his mother passed away, so now he will be staying at her place. The lady there gives him the phone number of someone who might give him work. Later, Bobby arrives at the building his mother lived at. The manager gives him the keys to the apartment. Bobby takes a short while to look around the building. He opens the garbage disposal to look inside. Before he enters his mother's flat, he passes a young girl who sits in the hallway. Inside, he shows affection to his mother after looking at her picture. Then he looks around the flat. In the bedroom, he finds blood on a pillow. At a later time, Bobby cleans the piano. While doing so, he hears a strange sound coming from the wall. So he moves the piano to hear it better. When he does it, we see the wall possesses a hole. He puts his finger inside to instantly pull it out because he feels something painful. Walking into the washroom, he sees his finger bleeding. In there, he also finds his mother's pills. As he reads them, he gets interrupted by hearing a loud conversation coming from somewhere. It prompts him to search for it. He even opens his front door, but finds nothing in the hallway. So he goes back inside, where he looks out the window. He observes a silhouette of someone looking out as well. After that, Bobby enters a restaurant and looks at a certain waitress, who he soon starts talking to. We see they know each other, because she asks him when he got back. He tells her it's been a few days. The lady tells him she's sorry about what happened to his mom. What Bobby wants is to have some free time with her, though she has zero of that. Back at home, Bobby wakes up to hear noises coming from behind a door. He is about to check on it, but someone grabs him. It is an untidy lady who he calls his mother. Then he instantly wakes up. The next scene has him trying to get a job as an auto mechanic. While talking to the employer, we discover Bobby did time for involuntary manslaughter. Their conversation concludes with the employer telling him to come back tomorrow. When Bobby comes back to his apartment building, he tries to speak to the manager. The man nearby, who plays chess with himself, informs him the manager is not there. So Bobby tells him about the noise problem instead. While he rides in the elevator, a policeman rides with him. They exit on the same floor, and he seems to be following Bobby. However, he enters his flat while the officer just stands near the other door, looking at him. While he sits inside, he hears the odd sound from the wall again. So he gets up to listen to it with focus. He even follows the sound along the floor. As he is down there, the piano plays a note. That makes him open it to discover a key is stuck down. So he opens the top portion of the piano to undo it. In there, he finds some wrapping containing fingernails. The man comes down to present it to the manager, asking him why they are there. That makes the manager tell him his mother locked herself in for weeks before losing her life. By saying that, he insinuates she went at least somewhat crazy. Afterward, Bobby mentions the noises to him, though the manager says it's an old building. Right after, he also seems to change his position by saying that Bobby is the only one hearing things. After their conversation, he comes back to his flat to hear more arguing beyond the wall. He knocks on it, asking the people if they're all right. That seems to have ceased the noise. At his work site, Bobby sees a lady crying in the corner while talking to his boss. A car's hood closing causes her to vanish. Bobby is very confused by such an occurrence. After work, he waits outside for the waitress, Alyssa, to finish her shift. When she comes out, he greets her with a coffee. They walk while talking, catching up with each other. However, Alyssa gets upset because he didn't write to her while he was in prison. Due to that, she didn't even know if he was alive. He wants her to come to his apartment sometime, and she tells him maybe she might. In the next scene, Bobby walks along his hallway to observe a man eavesdropping at his door. After asking him what he's doing, the man asks if the sounds are coming from him. He then asks if Bobby hears them, but he just enters his flat without answering the stranger. As he washes dishes, he hears an odd sound coming from the sink. Another unusual sound is heard by him while he takes out the trash. Returning from the trash room, Bobby hears arguing from his neighbors, so he comes to eavesdrop at their door, where he hears a man hurting a lady. At that moment, his front door mysteriously closes and locks on him. He rushes to open it, as he hears his neighbor trying to come out. Luckily, he opens it in time without being spotted. Bobby looks through his peephole to get startled by a man walking toward his door. He responds by quietly locking his door with 2 locks. The man returns to his flat soon after. During another time, Bobby wakes up to hear more noise. He witnesses the door opening to the bedroom. Inside, he enters the closet, where we see someone disturbingly sitting there. He resorts to using a lamp for light because the closet light burned out. Near the closet, Bobby steps on some unknown liquid. Then he starts searching inside. Soon enough, he finds a tape recorder and listens to it. On the device, his mother speaks about some people being after her. The lady eventually screams. As Bobby listens to her, he gets a knock at the front door. His opening it reveals no one there. After that, he goes to the laundry room. Hearing a sound there makes him drop his coins. As he tries to search for what it could have been, we witness someone pass the doorway. Bobby feels that something passed, so he goes there. He enters someplace else, where we see something fall into a dumpster. However, the man looks inside to find nothing. Meanwhile, Alyssa enters his building. She knocks on his door, which is open. The young girl sits nearby, and Alyssa asks her if she knows whether Bobby is inside. She doesn't get an answer, so she enters, calling out to her friend. When she comes near the piano, we see a finger sticking out of the hole. Alyssa looks out the window to observe someone instantly closing their curtain. While she keeps looking, a hand starts creeping behind her, though it disappears as Bobby enters his place. She tells him his door was open. After some talking, he lets her know what happened to his mother. She locked herself in to eventually starve to her demise. At a later time, they eat together, and Alyssa shows him her drawings. She asks him what prison was like. He says it was isolating, yet there was never any privacy. As he is seeing her out, she kisses him. In the next scene, Bobby hears a lady yell for help while he showers. He comes to his front door, which is getting knocked on. He opens it to see a lady quickly retreat into the next door flat. That makes him knock on her door, telling the lady that if she needs help, he is there for her. Re-entering his apartment, he receives another knock. This time, Bobby opens it to see the man from earlier. The man tells him to mind his own business. Bobby doesn't say anything in return, he just slowly closes his door. On another day, Alyssa is about to visit him, but sees the other girl knocking at his door. When she goes back to her flat, Alyssa decides not to visit Bobby. Later, we see her telling her friend what she saw. She doesn't know what to do about it. Back at Bobby's flat, he hears noises again. He looks through the peephole to observe an officer rudely placing the lady into her apartment. He goes near his wall to listen some more. It bothers him to the point of exiting his flat. Outside his door, he finds the young girl. Bobby asks her if she could tell him what goes on in her apartment. He also invites her inside to play the piano for her. As he plays for the girl, the trouble from next door gets particularly out of hand, prompting him to call the police. While he does, we see the girl smacking her head against the wall. Once he finishes, she runs back into her flat. Bobby knocks on their door again, but no one opens it. Shortly after, 2 policemen arrive and knock on the door of Bobby's neighbors. They enter inside to find an empty flat. This upsets them, causing them to give Bobby a hard time before they leave. Afterward, he visits the manager to ask him who is living in the apartment next to his. However, the man informs him that the place is empty. It has been for a long time. The next scene has Alyssa telling her friend that Bobby went to jail because of her. Some guy once pushed her against the wall, making Bobby strike him with serious force. That strike possibly ended the man. At his job, Bobby gets troubled by more sounds. Blood leaks on him from under the car. Then his boss pulls him out. At that point, he realizes that it's not blood, but oil. In the washroom, the boss tells him he needs to talk to someone, or else he will fall apart. Following that, Bobby speaks with Alyssa near her work area. He tells her he's leaving the city because whatever happened to his mother is happening to him. He thinks something made her crazy. Alyssa tells him that maybe his leaving her made her depressed. The scene shifts to the apartment of the man Bobby ran into earlier. As he cuts vegetables, he accidentally severs his fingers, though we see it did not happen in reality. When he takes out the trash, hands grab him from the place garbage gets dumped. That causes him to run away. In his flat, he gets a knock at his door. Looking through the peephole, the man sees the lady who gets. She tells him to open the door. It terrifies the man, and he soon sees her get on top of him in a reflection. So he hides in the restroom, where the young girl opens the shower door. He tries to escape, but cannot. Then we see Bobby sleeping. Blood drips on him, causing him to wake up. He observes the lady floating above him. Shortly after, she vanishes. Fear turns to anger, prompting the man to throw items in his apartment. He follows by punching the wall to break it more. During the punching, he questions in frustration what is wanted from him. At that moment, he gets a knock at his door. He opens it to have a policeman ask him about a man named Joseph. But Bobby doesn't know anything about what happened. As he passes a room along his hall, he sees a pale man get taken away. Arriving at his workplace, his boss tells him about a car that was brought in, which disappeared. He thinks Bobby may have taken it, because he knows his other workers very well. However, despite Bobby saying it wasn't him, he cannot return until that car appears. The next scene has Alyssa in her design class. She hears an object fall and wonders what it was. Flipping her mannequin around, she momentarily perceives a lifeless girl before it returns to normal. Scared, she runs to the restroom to collect herself. She sits inside a stall, where she sees black feet walking nearby. The girl climbs the stall wall to look at Alyssa, horrifying her even more. She runs out, screaming. Subsequently, Bobby goes to Alyssa's building to look for her. He runs into her friend, asking her where Alyssa is. The friend tells him to leave Alyssa alone. His presence in her life only made things worse for her, and she knows about the other girl. Bobby wonders what other girl she's talking about. After that, he tells her to have Alyssa call him. At his apartment, we see Bobby's boss knocking on his door. He tries to tell him that the wrong car was towed, so he still has his job. However, Bobby is not there to answer. The man enters the elevator to find the young girl there. She exits on a certain floor. He walks out as well to look for her, because he thinks she's not well. Coming to the dumpster, he finds her body inside. This terrifies him, causing him to yell for help. The girl starts coming out, and he sees her. He runs out into the hallway to get more scared by her immediate presence. So he goes upstairs, where the lady pushes him and he tumbles down. The man loses consciousness as he lies there. In the next scene, Bobby comes home to find a necklace under the bed. Down there, he observes he's not alone. The young girl jumps on his bed before disappearing. He also sees the person from the other building closing their curtain again. Meanwhile, Alyssa calls him, leaving a message that she will come for him. Eventually, she enters his room, though he's not there. She sees his place is in ruin. Bobby, however, knocks on someone's door aggressively. When a man opens it, Bobby fiercely questions why he's constantly looking at him through his window. The man starts telling him about the family that lives next door to Bobby. He states that no one helped the lady during her screams. People thought either someone else would help or they just didn't care. One morning, the family met their demise. We see the husband shoot. Bobby tells the man it was his fault, he could have done something, but chose not to. To such an unpleasant accusation, the man closes his door on Bobby. Alyssa now knocks on Bobby's neighbor's door. She hears that someone unlocked it for her, so she enters to find a man standing inside. As she starts talking to him, the door closes. The man soon vanishes, prompting her to start leaving the apartment. But while she stands at the doorway, arms grab her back inside and drag her across the floor. The policeman starts hurting Alyssa. She even appears to be stuck to the ceiling before falling. Coming back to his flat, Bobby hears her suffer, so he comes to find her there and carries her to his place, where he calls 911. As he talks on the phone, he hears the young girl playing. At that moment, we see the lady with her daughter standing near their door. The lady's husband comes to see them with luggage. Confused, he asks her what she's doing. She starts acting defensively, making him back off. Then Alyssa wakes up to ask Bobby where he was. We see the policeman act differently. He does not act aggressively. He just wants to know why his wife wants to leave him. She shows him her bruises because he did that to her, but he acts like he did not. He wants her to tell him she loves him. Yet what she does instead is start screaming. To that response, he strikes her with his baton and drags her across the hall. When he is about to strike her again, Bobby comes out, telling him to stop. But the man tells him once more to mind his own business. His turning away allows his wife to steal his weapon and start beating him with it. Following the man's demise, the abused lady looks at her daughter before they all vanish. Alyssa gets scared, watching the event through the peephole. Shortly after, Bobby comes back inside to find her scared. That makes him carry her back to the couch, where he stays by her side and comforts her.